the 8-Bit Breakfast Show with your hosts, Ric Harvey and Jason Gregson.
Good morning, reInvent. I'm Rick.
And I'm Jason.
He's that way, isn't he? I get confused of which way to point on these things.
Oh.
So welcome to our breakfast show. We're going to be giving you news, reviews, and our general opinions on all things reInvent, Jassie's keynote. We all like that. I'm sure lots of you enjoyed that and was applauding at home as well. So thank you for the applause here. Okay, as we get started, let's give a little bit of a breakdown of what we're going to do. We're going to go through some of the pre-event notifications. We're then going to go through the plethora of announcements that was made during the keynote that Jassie made last night. We've got a competition. We've got a very, very special guest today who will be joining us later. We'll big her up closer to the time. And then we've got an insight into Jason's mind, which might scare a few of you. Hello to everyone on the chat as well. We can see you. Please do message us. We'll give you shout outs.
Yep.
We've got Simport Session Management of Sessions to Manage service. So Amazon actually helped us name that section. So a big shout out and thank to Amazon for that. And Jason will be giving some of his tips of sessions to go to this time. So without further ado, let's get ready and let's go into pre-event. Right, 293 announcements, Jason, in November before reInvent went live. What do you make of that?
That's just an insane amount, isn't it? There's so much information there, and yet we've still got reInvent, another 3 weeks of reInvent to go.
I know. I'm just staggered at the pace of innovation, really. So I'm gonna start with the downside.
Yeah, let's do that.
The console updates. Some of the UX experience on here, and I know the purists in the chat are going to be saying, "Oh, you should use CICD or the command line." Route 53. I genuinely think this was, like you said earlier, Jason, there to stop Quinny Pig, Corey Quinn doing his Route 53 as a database.
That's it.
It's like 10 extra clicks to create an A record, and it's confusing. It's not nice at all. So we give that one a big thumbs down.
Yeah, definitely. That's got to be our.
Yeah. So Jason's going to give his scores. We've either got nice or WTF as we do the announcements. Now, one of the things I did like, I think this is really useful, S3 storage lens.
Yeah.
So if you've seen this is a way of holistically looking across multiple accounts within an organization, analyzing what's in the S3 buckets, working out if there's cheaper tiers of things to do. Jason gives it a thumbs up and nice. We've got a little bit of a video to roll on this as well. So Jason, if you're ready, roll VT. Like now would be good.
Coming right up, sir. Well, I clicked.
S3 has always led the way in developing innovative ways to optimize your cloud storage. We were the first to give you things like a scheduled object inventory report and also an analytics feature to help you set your optimal lifecycle policies. The new S3 storage lens takes that even further by aggregating 31 different metrics and by providing organization-wide visibility with the ability to drill down to individual resources like regions, accounts, buckets, or prefixes. If you store large data sets across tens to hundreds of accounts and buckets, multiple regions, thousands of prefixes, Storage Lens is going to be a game changer for you. Not only can Storage Lens report those metrics to you, it also gives you contextual recommendations to make it easy to take immediate action. Tons of customers, maybe even you, are storing hundreds of petabytes and even exabytes of data in S3. So features like S3 Intelligent Tiering, S3 Storage Lens are going to help them manage their storage environment and also keep their storage costs under control while maintaining the most valuable asset, their data, with durability and availability that are just practically impossible to achieve on premises.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that, Jeff. Mr. Jeff Barr there giving us his insights on there. And I'm not sure why everyone's clapping, but thank you. That's great. That's great. Okay. One final thing to mention well, it wasn't really pre-event. It was one of the first announcements of reInvent this year is the Mac 1.metal. These are the Mac instances, Mac Mini instances that you can use for CI/CD pipelines. Now, Jason and I had a quick look at these, and they're not cheap. Was it $1.20 an hour in EU West 1?
That's right, yeah.
About $869 a month to run. So.
The price of a Mac per month.
Yeah, I mean, they're not really there to use as a workstation, desktop, or a instance. It's purely for CI/CD pipelines. Now, we've got a video we're going to run in a minute, but the whole concept behind it is CI/CD pipelines. Personally, I would still use on-prem Mac Minis to do this, to build iOS apps, iPad apps and stuff. I can see the advantages. EBS volume attachment, that's really quite nice. The whole Nitro platform that's wrapped around it, pretty cool. Well, Jason, what about you? Would you use this?
Yeah, I think so. I think certainly short term, no. If I'm got a 4, 5, 6, whatever it takes to actually run my department to make sure it all works. I think if you're getting to the point where you're employing sysadmins to look after your Mac Minis, to go and develop your applications, then it starts to become a serious consideration of, should we use this service? Because you're not going to be running it 24/7. You'll be running it for a development tranche, spit it out, and then turn it all back off again. So, but I think it's going to be a real fine line between when to use this and when to just go and buy some tin.
Yeah, I think if you're a big organization and you're doing things like render farms on Macs, I know before that Disney Pixar used to use the X server that they don't make anymore. And have big farms of that. Maybe you could do a similar thing with these Macs and just use it on demand. I can see it being quite a good saving there. Use it for a short period of time, switch it off. When you're ready to do a new video of your lamp jumping up and down on your logo, it comes on. Okay, let's roll the video of this one. Let's see if you can get this one out.
Anything you can imagine right on device. A great example of this is Filmic. They make a great app called Filmic Pro that makes it possible for award-winning directors to push the boundaries of what's possible with cinematic filmmaking on iPhone.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Dave.
So Hollywood is shooting feature films on iPhones using your app?
Yeah, award winners too. We actually have multiple video apps and a photo app now.
So obviously you guys are developing for iOS all the time. Could you walk me through that? I'm wondering how AWS might help.
Well, I could show you our setup, but I'm not sure how you can help. You're mostly Windows and Linux, right?
True.
As you can see, Dave, this is our closet. This is where we keep our beer. We don't seem to ever have time to even clean the closet. Haven't even put the failover equipment in yet. We're developing all over the world. We release 10 to 12 updates a year.
Wow.
We're running all this on these Mac Minis, and we have to maintain each individual device.
And so you have to set up firewalls for each one?
Yep, and re-image each device.
And patches and updates?
Yep, which means eventually I'm going to have to hire a system administrator as our team grows, which means I'm going to have to probably buy more beer for Friday happy hours, and that means less time for me to be working with the team on making our great products.
Kevin, thanks for the insights. I have an idea. Let me get back to you.
Sounds great.
What if we could build a new EC2 instance that runs macOS with the scale, reliability, and security of AWS? Access to AWS services, make it easier for developers. Run on Apple hardware? Absolutely. Haven't you heard of Nitro? We can do that. All I need is a truckload of Mac Minis. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Dave.
Thank you for enlightening me. Your story inspired the team here at AWS to build Mac instances for customers like you.
That's great. What'd you come up with?
With Mac instances, you can now for the first time run macOS on EC2 and enjoy the same elasticity, scalability, reliability, security, and cost effectiveness as other AWS customers.
So we can build Apple applications on AWS now?
You bet. And you'll have access to virtual private cloud for secure networking, Elastic Block Store for storage, Elastic Load Balancing for distributing build queues,
Yay!
and Amazon Machine Images for OS image orchestration, and much more.
And most importantly, my team can get back to developing tools for filmmakers instead of managing machines.
Fantastic.
And we'll get our closet back. More room for beer.
So please drink responsibly after that, that message there. So a couple issues with that video. I mean, pace of innovation is everything at AWS. but it took him 5 days to make a phone call. I mean, he wrote it on the note, and then 5 days later, he finally made it.
Bias for action, mate. Bias for action.
Yes, that's not bar raising stuff. Anyway, yeah, let's carry on. So we're now going to go into our next section, which is all the announcements from Keynotes. So let's have a little ident in between, please, Jason. Welcome back. Look at that. It's almost as if we're consummate professionals, Jason.
It's like we planned this and did some prep and everything.
Fantastic. Right. Okay. Let's get on to some of the keynote announcements here. So there are a lot. So I'm going to go fast. Jason is going to give a visual representation of whether he likes it or whether he doesn't. Nice if he likes it. WTF if he's like, why would you use this? So let's start off with some announcements about instances. There was quite a few new instances launched, not all of them mentioned in the keynote. So some of them we've pulled out the blogs as we've gone along. I'm going to start off with R5B instances. So these are like the R5s, lots of RAM, memory for database servers really, or in-memory caches that you may want to run yourself. But these are optimized for EPS. They can do 60 gig a second, 260,000 IOPS as well, and that's 3 times greater performance than the R5. So Jason gives a go on that. Nice, he likes it. Brilliant. I'm going to call out all these things as well because this is going to podcast later. So I better call out his visual clues on this. Next up, the D3 and the D3EN type instances. These are a direct replacement for the D2 type instances. These are hard disk drive, dense storage instances. So if you've got a lot of data you need to put together and you need to get that data out, up to 336 terabytes in size. And the D3EN has 7.5 times, network performance over the previous generation. So a bit of a boost there. I think that's quite impressive.
Nice.
Nice from Jason as well.
Yeah.
Right, onto our next instance type. I'm going to rush through these as quickly as possible. So M5ZN. M5ZNs are high-frequency CPU instances. You can get clock speeds up to 4.5 gigahertz. And the big one for me really is you get 100 gigabytes per second network I/O, which...
That's a nice for me.
That's a nice. I mean... That's quite good. If you're moving a lot of data around between your nodes and stuff like that, that's really quite handy to have that that network I/O on. I think that's the biggest jump for me. I like that. Good. I'll have that. I'll take it. Right. Swiftly on to the G4 AD. That's correct. G4 Alpha Delta. So another new instance types. Personally, I think the whole G4 space is getting very confused and WTF from Jason here. So these are AMD GPU and CPU based instances. There's a 40% performance increase over the G4 DN. See what I mean? Just too many now. This family's getting a bit too full. And they've got the Radeon Pro V520 GPUs in, which, according to Amazon's website, are the only cloud provider to offer that type. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose it's good if you want the GPUs in there. You want to use it for machine workloads or something like that, Jason?
Yeah, go mine some Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. Guard duty might stop you on that one. So... Not our final announcement about instances. There's a lot of new instances here. We've also got the C6GN. Yet again, come on. Let's stop adding letters to these instance families, please. So these are the next generation C family. It gets a WTF from Jason. It's really a brilliant, a new version. So it's not groundbreaking stuff. But yet again, 100 gigabits networking I/O. So yeah, we'll take that. Right. Now, this one I find quite difficult to say. Hannibal Gaudi, I did it.
Yeah, it's
Hannibal Gaudi, I've even tempted fate and tried to say it again. And let's do it a third time.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Hannibal Gaudi Intel-based instances for ML workloads. So this was kind of hyped up. Jassy talked about this a lot. This is for machine workloads. Everything on there is optimized to do your machine learning training. I know why Jason's giving this one a WTF. It comes with our next announcement. I'll ask him about that in a second. 40% better price performance over GPUs. So it could save you a lot of money, Jason. So come on, defend yourself with the WTF.
Because of the next announcement.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. So this is brilliant. This is great for the customer, lots of options. But then right in at the end, Amazon snuck in a little announcement about the AWS Trainium. That's how you've got to say it from now on, everyone. It's Trainium. In a 1980s pop vox kind of sing way.
Turn the data around.
I'm going to have to kill Jason's camera in a minute. Technical difficulties. So AWS Trainium is custom silicon to it basically complements I can't say this one, Jason. Help me out here.
Inferentia.
Yeah, that's the one. It complements that. And why Inferentia-ish? I got that ish right.
Yeah.
Will do your inference of your ML workloads. Trainium is there to basically train your models. It kind of does what it says on the tin, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The funny thing was when these announcements were going on, when Jassy started talking about this, I came up with a name not too dissimilar from this in 3 or 4 seconds. So basically, Amazon naming department, come on.
Yeah, raise the bar. Raise the bar. Yeah, I think for me, the reason over Gaudi is like, okay, so you've released something that's 40% better price than the previous one, and then straight away announce something that's going to replace it within, a few months. So,
6 months. 6 months minimum. Second half of 2021.
Yeah, exactly.
So that could be December next year. It could be 12 months away. But yeah, custom silicon, yet again, from AWS to complement Graviton 2, the other thing, and Trainium. So all good. Right. Now we're going to move on to a section which I know our special guests will like later. Containers. EKS and ECS anywhere. You're going to be able to run the EKS nodes, the ECS nodes on your own hardware on premise. This is massive for me. I absolutely love this, especially the ECS anywhere. Being a former Amazonian, I knew this was in the works and couldn't speak about this for a long time, like 2 years. I knew it was being thought about. It's taken a while to get here. Now, Jason, I don't know your thoughts on this. I'm really intrigued about what the pricing is going to be on this.
Yeah.
So if you think about EKS, when you deploy EKS in your VPC, it drops a couple of elastic network interfaces into your VPC, and that's so the control plane of Kubernetes can reach into your network, because that's very much how everything communicates. Things get pushed to nodes. Nodes talk back to the API server. There's a lot of two-way communication going on there. ECS was built the other way around, effectively. ECS doesn't put any network interfaces in your account. The nodes are responsible for reaching out and talking to the control plane. Now, if you think about ingress is generally free or very cheap. Egress is the one you're always charged for, stroke more expensive. And with the fact that ECS is only doing ingress, really, how's that going to work? So I'm just intrigued about the pricing.
Yeah.
It's not the first time AWS has done something to make run on-prem. Session manager, simple sessions manager, that tool, that one can also run on-prem as well. So I'm intrigued. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I think, there's, for me, it's going to open up things a little bit more in terms of being able to play without having to worry about all those costs. But like you said, unless we know what the actual costs are for operating in the background, who knows just how well it's going to be adopted. But I think it's a good move. Is it going to be open sourced?
I believe the distro for EKS is going to be open, and the distro that's coming out is exactly the same that's running over on EC2.
Cool.
So when you run up nodes there, it's the same as what Amazon runs. So you'll store it on bare metal, and it should just work.
So none of that works on my machine.
Well, we don't know yet. Hopefully. Finally, not mentioned, but has been teased and promised for a while, to be perfectly honest. Not mentioned in the keynote, but came out in the announcements in the blogs as the keynote was going on. ECR Public Gallery. So ECR is the Elastic Container Registry. It's storage for your Docker images. Everybody knows that Docker Hub has recently done some throttling, and there's some limits around pulls from there. So Amazon promised to do something about that to protect customers, as they say. Yeah, you can now do public ECR repositories. So that's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah. Certainly helping customers in terms of moving away from the standard repos and being able to know that they can get it with a consistent sort of throughput. So that's great.
Right, let's move on to Lambda, sir. We're doing pretty good for time. I'm quite impressed with us.
Brilliant.
And our rehearsal this morning. Moving on to Lambda. There's two things that wasn't in the keynote. One of them was picked up a lot earlier in the day. Somebody noticed by looking at the API and the billing and charges that they were no longer being billed for 100 milliseconds minimum of time. So if your code ran in 25.5 milliseconds, you would charge for 100 milliseconds of compute time. That's been changed. You're now billed per millisecond. So the smallest unit is per millisecond. So if you're in that 25.5 millisecond time for execution, you'll get charged for 26 milliseconds. This could be quite big, because I mean, we're talking there with that example. I didn't really think this through. You think there, that example, just over 4 invocations in the same amount of time.
Yeah.
I mean, what's 2 milliseconds between friends?
Yeah, I think when it comes to it, it's like when you get to the 101 millisecond where you're wasting 99 milliseconds of your bill. So just being able to focus on the code rather than focusing on the runtime. Sure, it's important to optimize it, but it means you're no longer trying to just put it under the 100 millisecond to make sure that you're getting the best value for it anyway. And
also, as a fan of Rust and how blazingly fast Rust is, I'm going to keep going on about it because that's what Rust developers do. So that meme that talks about it doesn't matter that our code executes in 7 milliseconds. Well, it does now.
Yeah.
Back at you. There's also, moving swiftly on before I start a holy war here, moving swiftly on, there's a 10 gigabyte memory increase. So Lambda functions can now use 10 gigabytes of memory and 6 virtual CPUs. So that's been upped a little bit as well per function, which is kind of good for some bigger workloads. And then the one that was the song and dance in the keynote, Lambda container support. So as you know, you can edit in console, you can upload a zip file with your Lambda code on and run it. And this one open to much fanfare, of course. Thank you for clapping there. This one was basically, you can run containers within Lambda. If you think about it, underneath, everything's running Firecracker. Fargate runs Firecracker. Lambda runs Firecracker. There's not much difference. But this lets you wrap up your code in a container, upload it as an image format, and it will be invoked in exactly the same way your Lambdas are. The interesting thing around this is the containers can be up to 10 gigabyte in size. So from that point of view, it gets around some of the file size limits and that people were suffering uploading lots of libraries, which Layers came out to kind of solve, but Layers involved making a container anyway. So as my good friend Paul Johnson used to say to me, every time I say that there's a container involved in serverless, a serverless developer dies somewhere and you have to clap to bring them back to life. So it's a good job that the audience are participating in bringing back serverless devs right. Okay, let's move on from that. CI/CD pipelines for serverless and containers. Jesse made out this is really hard. I kind of argue it's not that bad if you're using things like GitHub, GitHub Actions, GitLab, GitLab runners to do the deployments. You're using a sensible framework, SAM CLI, etc. And then AWS Proton. AWS Proton's launched. It's a CI/CD pipeline for serverless functions and for containers. The really nice thing about it is it will go and set that infrastructure up for you as well, which would be more manual work if you was to do it yourself. It's pretty good. We think it's worth a round of applause. And Jason is going to roll VT for you on this one as well.
Operators struggle to maintain consistency and compliance for infrastructure that is deployed by teams across an enterprise. AWS Proton helps you provide well-architected templates and apply best practices when development teams deploy containers and serverless applications. A self-service interface allows developers to focus on shipping code while giving you a central location to automate deployments. You can see all deployed services in a central dashboard and upgrade them to your latest infrastructure definition with one click. Gain increased control over your cloud infrastructure while accelerating the pace of innovation for your development teams with AWS Proton.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. I needed that ident there to be able to pour another cup of coffee. Jason and I have been rehearsing since early this morning.
I'm out.
I know the caffeine's really kicking in with me now. It's quite nice. So on to storage, Jason. We're on to another section here. Storage is evolving was the story bought from reInvent from Jassy. First big news, and I want your view on this. GP3 disks.
Yeah, fantastic. Nice. Yeah, no, actually, can you do that and then and then maybe that one again?
That's a nice from Jason. I absolutely, Jason. I can't tell if you're in your room or in your kid's room. Jason is a child, so yes, Simon, he is. All the Lego in the background, although I have Lego as well somewhere there. So GP3 disks, I think this is really cool actually. So this is one of the differentiators. Amazon use SSDs as default disks, used to be the GP2 disks, used to have a max of 250 megabytes per second throughput. The GP3 disks range from 120 megabytes a second right up to 1,000 megabytes per second throughput, 16,000 max IOPS, which is awesome. But even better, and this is where it really earns the nice and the round of applause, 20% better pricing, everyone, for you, you, and you. Yes, we really like that. And this is really good. So other cloud providers have been catching up in this space and making SSDs standard, dropping the price. They caught up with GP2. Amazon's just come along and just gone, okay. Let's innovate again. Let's move on with that. So I'm really happy with that announcement.
That's fantastic.
Also, if you need a little bit more performance, you've got the provisioned IOPS disk, and there's a new generation of that too. IO2 disks, 1,000 megabytes per second throughput, 64,000 max IOPS. You're getting lots of comments about your Lego Bugatti here, Jason, in the chat. So
I'll get it out later.
It means people are watching at least. I'll take that. It's all good. So the IO2 disks, like I said, pretty good, but then they went one further. One of the problems with trying to replicate data center stuff into AWS, if you've got legacy stuff and you've got to build your own SAN, was disks. Putting EBS volumes together, striping them to make sure you got max IO, but then that put an overhead on your CPU. You needed a bigger instance. You was limited by all kinds of factors. So there's now the IO2 Block Express. This is a 4,000 megabits a second throughput disk, 256,000 max IOPS, and 64 terabytes on a single volume of storage.
Nice.
I like it. You say nice, but really, unless you've got something really cumbersome and big and you're an enterprise and you have to move it over, I'd say use the standard tiers, use S3, use the cloud native way. Don't try and repeat. That's my take. It's good. It's nice to have.
I think that it's nice that it opens up things anyway, so that if you are being constrained by that or having to go through all these hoops to build out, stripe disks and everything else, it just makes it so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So databases, Jason, this is my favorite topic.
Yep.
Anyway, Aurora Serverless version 2. What's your verdict?
I'm sorry, but what the?
Yeah. What the flip? Yeah, absolutely. It was really unclear about the upgrade path here.
Yeah.
Now, Aurora Serverless, I like the idea, especially if you're in, say, media, which I've worked in before. So commercial breaks come along. You've got 3 minutes to basically handle all the traffic in a commercial break. You normally put a call to action on air just before commercial break. And within that, you've got to make sure you're scaled up. So you pre-scale ahead of time. But sometimes you get caught out. I remember Hugh's fish fight. So Hugh Fearnley-Whittinstall did a show about fish being dumped because people were over quota when they came back from fishing. So all these fish just got dumped and wasted. And he was arguing that these should be put back into the system. And yeah, they get taxed heavier on them, and told not to go out again. But don't waste food and don't kill fish unnecessarily. It was his view. There was no idents. But he came on screen and there was about 50 fishermen holding a massive hand-painted banner with the URL of the website for the show on that wasn't supposed to be promoted. So the whole website starts handling under pressure. Now, Aurora Serverless could have handled that, but in a commercial break of 3 minutes, Aurora Serverless used to take about 50 seconds to scale. And that's not long enough. That's a third of your time, basically, you've chewed up trying to scale. People have gone away, customers aren't happy. Oh, website's down. It's not great. So Aurora Serverless V2 says it will scale in a fraction of a second to hundreds of thousands of transactions. It's a bonus. It's really quick scaling, but I'm really unclear of the V2 part, and I'm unclear of the upgrade path. So, I mean, someone might know some bits of this as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Now, the one I did like, so it wouldn't have been a keynote from Jassy without him having a pop at the traditional database vendors. Oracle, yeah, shots fired. But we decided, why just fight on one front? Let's bring Microsoft into this fight as well. And SQL Server was heavily attacked.
It was brutal, mate. It was absolutely brutal.
It was. I mean, some of the comments was it's an unhappy place, and their punitive licensing structure, and the things such as Microsoft decided to change their license mid-term. Yeah. And you can no longer use your license on-prem in the cloud unless it's on Azure. So things like that aren't great for customers. So this is why they announced Amazon Babelfish.
Pronounced correctly.
Yeah. What did he call it? What was his pronunciation?
Marble or something like that.
Yeah. Amazon Babelfish. And this is for Amazon Aurora Postgres. So basically the idea is you can take your SQL Server workload, put it on Postgres, and Babelfish will sit in front and it will talk TSQL. It translates. You can talk native if you want to it, but you can do little to no changes in your code base, and it thinks it's talking to SQL Server. So it's a really, really good thing to help customers move across. I think it's absolutely amazing. Yeah, Simon, we'll get to it. We'll get to your announcement in a little bit. We've got that in the not in the keynote, but announced on the blogs section. So yeah. That rounds up the database section. And then we went into Amazon's special place when we started talking about data lakes, and we went to their naming department. Now, this is definitely a decision at 5:30 on a Friday, just before the pubs open. Announcing AWS Glue Elastic Views for you.
Hey, you did it right.
And you, I know, it's quite hard to say, actually. So it's quite cool. I'm going to give this, this is a really useful tool to have in your toolbox.
It's a nice for me, despite the hideous name.
Will I be using it all the time? Probably not, but it's nice to have there. So the idea behind this is when you build a data lake, you normally suck in data from disparate places, RDS, other S3 buckets, MongoDB, DynamoDB. You pull it all in. You have it somewhere and you can access that data. But what if that data is changed and updated within that data lake store? How do you reflect those changes back into those disparate services? And that's what AWS Glue Elastic Views does. It effectively keeps in sync between the data sources and updates the data source in the S3 data lake as well when things change in RDS, for example. So quite a nice service to have for all the data scientists out there. Now, AI/ML. So Jassy said there's a whole new keynote online for this. And one of the things with the keynote is that he said, I'm not going to talk for 75 minutes. So he just gave us a 74 minutes, 59 seconds rendition of AI instead. The first announcement there, we're going to do it very, very quickly so we can get our guest on pretty soon. The first thing we did there is that Data Wrangler was announced. So I just want to shout yeehaw when I hear this. Data Wrangler, yeehaw! This is a way of preparing your data. When you're doing AI/ML workloads, if you've ever done this, the data preparation is the biggest part. For example, if you're going to train an image on an image set, you need all those images to be the right size, you need the RGB format to be in the right order, right rotation, all these kind of things you need to set up before, and that takes time. Data Wrangler has 300 inbuilt conversions in it, so it understands lots of different data inputs. You throw your data at Data Wrangler, it comes back and says, I think this is a conversion you want to do. You say yes, and then it goes through and converts everything for you. So really, really, really cool. Makes things a lot simpler. So yeah, I like that one. Nice. And then we've got SageMaker Feature Store. So adding into SageMaker Studio, this is a way to allow you to store, update, and share features across the team. I don't know SageMaker well enough to really comment on this. I've used it, but not in anger. I can see it being useful if you've got a lot of data scientists spread out and can't all be in the office at the same time at the moment. It could be quite useful in this COVID world. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Next one, SageMaker Pipelines. So adding to the SageMaker family, SageMaker is desperately trying to catch up with the IoT set of products, which has got the most products in the world underneath it. SageMaker's hot on their heels now. So SageMaker Pipelines, this is CI/CD for your machine learning, Python SDK, build workflows. If data goes here, stick it in Data Wrangler, then kick off this training job, then put it here for inference. You can build and automate that pipeline for you. So retraining becomes easier. You don't have to do all those manual stages of setup. So I like this one. So it's a nice from me. Yeah.
And it's a nice from me.
There you go.
But it has always been available anyway. You just had to do it yourself.
It was messy doing it yourself.
Clunky.
Let's be. A single pane of glass is going to be nicer.
Yeah, very much so.
Right, AWS Code Guru, really expensive. First thing I'm just going to comment about that. This goes through your code and analyzes it for best practices, security issues and problems, all those kind of things. Suggests fixes for you. It used to work just with Java. We've now got Python support there as well. Yep. And security detectors built in. So it'll look for dependency security problems as well. It'll go down the line and look for you. So automating the dev side of the DevOps, which is a fantastic segue to Amazon DevOps Guru. So this is a way of, once you've set up your infrastructure, DevOps Guru can look at it and identify issues in your setup. So it can recommend actions, yet again, like Code Guru. I'm not sure the pricing on this, but if it's a similar pricing model, I won't be using it. But it'll do things like early warnings of failures. So it'll look for memory leaks on your instances and alert you and tell you you need to go and fix this problem. But it'll also look for instances that are under provisioned. It'll look for bottlenecks in DBIO, stuff like that, and warn you that if you scale a little bit more, you're going to have an issue here. So that's quite a nice one. A nice for Jason. Well. Yeah.
It's where we're seeing a lot of problems anyway, certainly with customers not really understanding how to do this. I think, yeah, depending on price, could be really useful.
It's kind of automating us out of a job, which isn't
brilliant.
A bad thing to do.
It means I don't have to talk about DevOps anymore.
You can talk about DevSecOps instead, yeah?
Yeah. Or MLOps.
Yeah. Right, we're now into the last couple of sections before we're going to bring Liz online in a little bit. So I'm not going to bring her on during Amazon Connect. I'm just giving away who our special guest is.
Yeah, no, shush.
You didn't hear that bit. Anyway, let's go here. So into the business intelligence section. So Amazon QuickSight got a load of updates, some more natural language processing for the data that comes back and being presented to you. But the big one was QuickSight Q. And this is QuickSight question. I'm guessing it stands for that. This allows your users to go into a QuickSight dashboard and say, I would like a report from the data, from the sales reports for the last 3 months for this product. So you ask it in a natural language way. And QuickSight Q knows where to go and get that data. It's analyzed it all with machine learning. It knows where to go and get it, what tables to query, what data stores to access, and then provides that information back to the user. So the user doesn't have to be a data scientist to build these queries and dashboards in the first place. So things like that are pretty cool. So for you, Jason, is that nice?
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
It's a half nice.
Yeah.
It depends if you're using QuickSight and not something else. That's the big thing. Yeah.
And it depends on the NLP as well, depending on how good it is.
Yeah. Right. I'm going to do a bunch of Amazon Connect announcements all together here. And so some of the big things here, just being conscious of time as well. Amazon Connect, virtual call center in the cloud, has been massively popular over the COVID period with people working from home, connecting agents up to talk to customers at the end. First of all, Connect Wisdom is pretty cool. So if you've got an agent on the call, let's say it's Jason, he's not really listening to the customer. They're telling him, hey, my package has just turned up and it's got a bit missing. What should happen here is the audio profile is being listened to by Connect Wisdom, and it's going to present Jason on his screen with all the information he needs to know about the returns policy, for example. So it uses machine learning to understand the conversation and give Jason the right information. Nice. Because yet again, it makes his job easier. You can see a pattern emerging. We like that. Also, connect profiles, customer profiles. So when somebody rings up, the agent will get all the information from different sources, forums or whatever, Salesforce gets pulled in, and they'll know who the customer is and what sort of things they need help with. And then, yet again, if you're on a call in a call center to Jason and he's not really helping you and you're getting frustrated, there was always contact lens for Connect. And this would analyze the call after the call and report back saying, this customer seems really frustrated, using sentiment analysis. That's now available in real time, which I think is no small achievement. So I think thank you all for clapping again there. Thank you, audience, for joining us. So that's quite a nice feature that came out there. Connect Task came out as well. So this automates some of the tasks for agents. So if it's understood correctly and a customer needs something sending out in the post, it can automate that being printed out, packaged and sent. So things like that will be good. And then we've got Connect Voice ID. So I like this.
Yeah, that's a nice for me as well.
Yeah, this is Voice ID as a service. So if you have a bit of a announcement, a ring up, and you've got to give your password over the phone, my voice is my password.
Yeah.
Someone's going to use that now to register me in a bank, aren't they?
And that's part of the problem. I think it's going to be more down to regulation than anything else. But it's a really cool idea. I hope it is, as tight as it's going to be in terms of actually using it as a password. That'd be great. But I think it'll be down to adoption of regulators.
Yeah. Simon's now got that sound snippet and is going to use that against me.
My voice is my beep.
I mean, to do that in front of anyone, it's not Simon who you do it. You're welcome, Simon.
You watch up to how many things you've been signed up for now.
It wouldn't be the first time. So moving on to Edge, and we'll do this very quickly. Edge, Amazon Monitron.
Moneytron?
No, Monitron. I mean, Moneytron. Amazon is a bit of a money train, but Amazon Monitron. This is hardware devices, sensors you go and stick on your physical machinery. It detects vibrations and sounds. It sends it to the cloud. there's some predictive maintenance algorithms go on and tells you, hey, your tractor's about to fall to pieces. Go and put a new fuel pump in. So it does that from all the sensor data coming back. It's great because it's just a ready to use off the shelf, take the sensor, screw it onto something, start learning from that data coming on, tell it what that sensor's on.
Yeah, I mean, that a lot of that stuff is already used in terms of mechanical engineering anyway to establish whether an engine's working right. So to have a ready box solution where you can just literally stick something on it and then start getting some meaningful data out of it, brilliant.
Well, like you said, if you've got existing sensors, because a lot of people do that already, there is Amazon Lookout.
Hey!
You have to say like this, Amazon Lookout. So Amazon Lookout basically allows you to take that existing sensor data, Amazon Lookout for equipment, take that existing data, put it into IoT Sitewise or S3, analyze that data for sound, temperature, or vibration anomalies, and alert you that something's going wrong with your machinery. There's also Amazon Lookout for vision, which looks for visual defects. So if you think of a production line coming off, have a camera looking down, this thing is not the same as the others. Kick it off the production line, basically, as it goes along. Quite nice. In the computer vision realm still, Amazon Panorama Appliance. So scanning across the panorama there. This basically is an appliance you plug into your network. It looks at video streams from security cameras or smart cameras around your network. And it looks in there for anomalies and things that shouldn't be happening. So you can see quite a few uses coming up from that. That's an actual device. There's also an SDK been launched for that. So if you're developing the smart cameras yourself, you can put it in there. Right, last section before we get to Liz. Sorry, Liz, this is taking ages. We're going up. Anyway, hybrid was mentioned, something that Amazon never used to talk about. So obviously Outpost came out last year, and there's a new size of Outpost. You can now get a 1U server and a 2U server. I did look this up because I thought about putting this on my AWS account for work. I'm not sure do it would be too happy, but it's $3,700 a month for the 1U C5 24XL size server.
Get two of them. You need a backup.
Oh yeah, we could have one at your site.
Oh yeah. DR.
East Anglia 1 and East Anglia 2. Yeah. Yeah. So
I know I'm going to be 2.
Yeah. Absolutely. So they're absolutely going to come out. That'd be quite nice if you don't need a full rack of equipment being delivered. Also, more local zones come in, Boston, Houston, and Miami, and 12 more in the USA in 2021. Not really going to affect most of us here over in Europe. I didn't notice, though, that Wavelength is launching in London in 2021. Yeah. So that's the 5G low latency connection side. It's going to be in London on Vodafone. Wavelength also launched in Vegas in what can only be thought of as eternal optimism. We'd all be meeting in person for reInvent, and we wanted to demo it and show it to everybody. So that's that.
Hey,
three more things, Jason, and we've got a fighting chance of being like 10, 15 minutes over time here, but who cares? Amazon S3, this is the one Simon mentioned. Amazon S3 got a big update, and it's strong read after write consistency. So Amazon S3 is no longer eventually consistent. This automatically applies to lists, gets, and puts. They'll be strongly consistent. So stick data in, get it straight back out. Don't wait for that eventual consistency. Simon's partying there in the chat comments.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
I really like this fantastic one. I'm a massive S3 nerd anyway, so this is a big one for me.
S3 an awful lot of customer problems as well.
Yeah, S3 also got another update. So if you're doing replication, you can now replicate to multiple destinations in one setup. So take your data here, stick it in stick it in region A, B, and C, all from one section. And then I picked up on this in the blogs, Amazon AppFlow. Not something I'm familiar with. I don't know if it's new. I don't know if it's been around for a while. AppFlow links into Amazon Honeycomb, which is the low-code, no-code service of building applications. But AppFlow connects in data sources. So be it Slack, Marketo, or Salesforce, it can suck the data out of that and provide it in a standard way for you to use in Amazon Honeycomb. And it's built with security in mind as well. So that's great. That is all the announcements. So let's go to our ident Jason, and then we'll bring out our special guest who I've. Hello.
Hello.
I mean, it's a surprise to you all. I didn't say Liz several times on the show already. This is Liz Rice. Liz Rice is the container expert I always go to look for if she's written an article or a book. By the way, I'm going to push your book, Liz. I didn't tell you this. So I have Liz's book. It's not signed. I'm a little bit disappointed in that.
I'm going to send you. I'm going to sign some stickers and send them to you so you can put them.
Fantastic. Great. We're going to give away some of Liz's books in our competition section as well. So that'll be part of the prizes to be given away. It's brilliant, Liz. I love it.
Thank you.
I love tech books where I can flick back and forth between just the relevant bit of information I need. And this is just laid out that fits my mind. So I feel like you've sucked out how my mind works and put it into a book. Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad you're finding it useful.
Yes. So Liz, tell us a little bit about yourself first. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Liz Rice. I look after the open source engineering team at a company called Aqua Security, where we basically specialize in cloud native security. And I also spend a fair bit of time with the CNCF. That's the part of the Linux Foundation that owns Kubernetes and a bunch of other open source projects related to cloud native. And for the CNCF, I'm chair of the technical oversight committee with a group of people who basically assess projects that want to join the foundation and figure out what sort of level of maturity they are, whether they fit in sandbox or incubation or graduation. So yeah, that's
if people want to come into the CNCF, they've got to be nice to you, is what we're saying.
They don't have to be nice to me, but they have to impress me.
They should be nice to you anyway, Liz, to be perfectly honest. Let's all be nice.
Buy your book first.
So speaking of nice, we love your jumper.
Give us a tour. That's fantastic. Yes.
Fantastic.
I'm going to tell the audience. I was saying before we came on, this is the first time Instagram advertising has ever worked for me, but I saw a picture of this and I had to buy it.
Definitely.
Yes. Advertising works. You've heard it here. Even on the most skeptical of us tech geeks, it still works. So I think I know what the answers are going to be here already. What's your favorite announcement from reInvent so far?
Yeah, I would probably say the EKS Anywhere comes along with this EKS distro, which is people have been saying, oh, it's great because EKS distro is open source. To be fair, it is mostly Kubernetes, upstream Kubernetes, but with some patches that make sure that if you run the EKS distro, you're running exactly what you'd be running in EKS, within AWS. So, it's not like a whole new set of giant changes. It's fundamentally Kubernetes, and that's a good thing. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Keeping it as close to stock as possible is definitely key, because then all the little things you plug in as operators, or if you've got connections to your on-prem load balancers and you want Kubernetes to talk over to that and set things up, you could write something for it and not worry too much.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the beauties of Kubernetes is the extensibility of it and the fact that so many people have come together and collaborated on it, so many organizations. So having something that is compatible, you can run so many things on Kubernetes, and there's so many things you can plug into it. And I think AWS are maintaining that, which is, there aren't a whole lot of other AWS services that are quite so, open source friendly, pluggable like that.
I think this really started in the roots with Abby Fuller. I mean, big shout out. Abby open sourced the roadmap for all the containers. And that's led a mindset and change in there. It was a small thing to do at the start, but it was big for Amazon. It was a lot to get that through and open up. As a partner, as a customer in the past, getting those roadmaps from AWS was a pain, and you'd sit there, work on a project, and then the keynote would happen. You think, I've just wasted my life for a year. The roadmap.
I think there's a lot of startups feel like that every year, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So the roadmap fixed that. And then it's just led that adoption of let's open up more. Let's open up more. This is good. So a big thanks and massive kudos to Abby for that. So that's a big shout out.
100%. Yeah.
Right. We're going to move into our next couple of sections, Liz. So one of the things we've been doing is we want to support a charity as a community, as AWS Consum. So Jason and I have been beavering away, finding a registered charity. It's not just coming to my coffee fund. It is a legit charity. It's called CAMS, which is Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services. And CAMS are doing a Christmas appeal where they're making sure that people in wards over Christmas, no, they're not forgotten about, especially in COVID times where visitors can't come in all the time. They're sending presents and gifts out. So we're trying to raise some money for it. We set a modest target of £1,000. We're at 91% already. So hopefully our community can help us push that over the line. And I'm gonna drop up. This might come over you a bit. Oh, it didn't. That's really good. Support CAMS. We've got a URL here. I'm going to leave it up for a little bit. If anybody's feeling generous and come in and want to support on that, it'd be great. Now, Liz.
Someone should put that into the chat as well so that it's clickable.
Yes, I'll let Jason do that one because I'm clicking too many buttons and I'm losing my mind here. I'm not very good at multitasking. I'm just a simple man.
Don't worry.
Thank you very much for your time, Liz. It's been great having you on. It's great to know what your insights are to what your favorite thing was so far. We'll ask you again, and we'll see you on the rest of the community summit in the pundit section.
Yeah, I'll be around. See you later.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much. Bye. Okay, so we mentioned the charity. I'm going to leave that up there a bit longer. One of the other things, it's in the chat now, so that's really good news. One of the other things we want to do as well is we want a competition. We want to bring you, the community, in. To do that, we're going to use Twitter. So Jason and I's Twitters. I sound like an old man now. Jason and I's.
Are you going to do the Twitter thing?
Yeah, the tweety thing. Yeah, where
it's spelled with an I.
Yeah, whatever. Our handles are on screen at the moment. What we want you to do is to tweet us, and we want you to use a hashtag with that, which is AWS Consum. And the theme of today's competition is show us your mug. It's early morning. We all need more coffee. I've got a Nerd Herd mug here. If anyone's familiar with the show, you let me know. I'll see who knows this. So send us a picture of you with your mug. Tag it with AWS Consum as the hashtag, and we'll randomly pick a winner. And we're going to send prizes. It will include Liz's fantastic book, Container Security. So if you're a serverless person, don't worry today. And we're going to also send some other prizes. We've got some Kindles to give away. We've got some Fire TVs. We're going to have some bigger prizes as the weeks go on as well. So let's go to the next ident, Jason, before we wrap up.
Do this.
Oh, you can. Great little ident there. Just seems to last for ages at the end. Okay, I'm going to move into the last section. So I've got to get this right. So yet again, we've had Amazon help us with the naming of this section. We went to their naming department, and big thank you to them. Let's give them a big shout out. Thank you, Amazon, for helping us name this section. So this section is named Simple Session Management of Sessions to Manage Service. I'm sure many of you will approve of that. Or SSM. SMS. Yeah. So this is an insight into Jason's brain. Jason is going to give us his top 3 sessions that he recommends you have a look at. Over to you, Jason.
Yeah, so certainly I'm just looking at it purely from a selfish point of view, you know, dealing with customers and that side of it. So the first one that I'm going to be watching is the Pragmatic Cloud Developer. So whether it's startups or anything else, it's, you know, just listening to that approach, how to sort of tackle the teams, building it all up and that sort of side of it, really getting those grassroots level stuff done so that the rest of the stuff can just flow from there. So I think that's going to be it's a really important one for me, and certainly for my customers. So I want to watch it, and then if it's good, I'll recommend it, and so on and so forth. And then there's another one that I'm going to be watching, number 2, which is these are all today. Close the cloud skills gap by building diverse and vibrant workforces. So this is that inclusion, diversity, and that sort of side of it as well. But also looking at all the various different skills that are around that. So you can see there's a theme here. It's about building up those teams and trying to get them actually all working together. And then also, leaning on partners to help sort of deliver those things as well. And last but not least is probably the most boring one, but it's also going to be the one that I really want to try and find out a lot more about. And that's that billing and management cost control. How can we enable builders to build faster? And there's all this thing about velocity. And yet at the same time, we've really got to manage those costs and make sure that we're not spinning off into the ether and it just becomes a shadow IT. How do we start to bring all of this in and start showing some real business value for the things that are being built? So they're the sort of main 3 ones that I'm going to go for anyway.
Cool. Thanks very much, Jason. I gave you focus there. I thought,
thanks, mate.
Have your mug on the screen. So shout out to Mike as well, who's watching. One of our friends. So Mike said, do you want to see the mug or your face, your mug? Both. In your case, Mike, we always want to see you. So both your mugs.
The lovely dichotomy.
Yes, absolutely. So that's all from today. Thank you very, very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we will see you on Friday. So on that note, let's roll VT. Here we go.